了没有？好了没有？
Prime Minister, we decided on a deal. Is there a deal, Prime Minister?
Quel est l'obstacle final après cette conférence? Monsieur Sarkozy?
La Merkel.
Mrs. Merkel.
La Merkel.
Mrs. Merkel.
How was the meeting? How was the meeting?
Is there an agreement? Are you optimistic? What is the final answer?
Do we have an agreement about climate? Can you tell us?
Do we have an agreement?
Let me start with a statement, and then I'll take a couple of questions. Today we've made meaningful and unprecedented, meaningful and unprecedented breakthrough here in Copenhagen.
About how the transparency issue will work, how countries will show or prove.
The challenge here was that for a lot of countries, particularly those emerging countries that are still in different stages of development, this is going to be the first time in which even voluntarily they offered up mitigation targets.
Thank you, sir. You talked in your remarks earlier today about other nations needing to accept, less than perfect in their.
We agreed to join an international effort to provide financing to help developing countries, particularly the poorest and most vulnerable, adapt to climate change. And we reaffirmed the necessity of listing our national actions and commitments in a transparent way. And these three components, transparency, mitigation, and finance, form the basis of the common approach that the United States and our partners embraced here in Copenhagen.
Sufficient, or do you think verification is going to remain a source of friction between the U.S. and China, and also on...
We've come a long way, but we have much further to go. To continue moving forward, we must draw on the effort that allowed us to succeed here today. Engagement among nations that represent a baseline of mutual interest and mutual respect. Climate change threatens us all. Therefore, we must bridge old divides and build new partnerships to meet this great challenge of our time.
Also, more specifically about cutting emissions. There's no mention of that in your statement or in what we've heard so far.
These countries have set forth, for the first time, some very significant mitigation efforts. And I want to give them credit for that. I mean, if you look at a country like India, as I said, they've got hundreds of millions of people who don't have electricity, hundreds of millions of people who, by any standard, are still living in dire poverty. For them, even voluntarily to say, we are going to reduce carbon emissions relative to our current ways of doing business by X percent, is an important step, and we applaud them for that.
A source of friction between the U.S. and China, and also on cap and trade. Were you able to?
Because of the differing views between developing countries and developed countries in terms of future obligations, the most important thing I think we can do at this point, and that we began to accomplish but are not finished with, is to build some trust between the developing and the developed countries, to break down some of the log jams that have to do with people looking backwards and saying, well, Kyoto said this, or Bali said that, or you guys need to do something, but we don't need to do something, or getting out of that mindset and moving towards a position where everybody recognizes we all have to move together.
Don't miss the motorcade, guys. Don't miss the motorcade.